Welcome back. Now that you've completed your short story essay, we need to prepare for the midterm exam that will cover the short story unit. Think of this exam as a checkpoint or review of what we have covered so far in the course. If you follow my instructions on the review, the exam will be a breeze. As we talk about the exam, you can refer to your course booklet for a list of review terms and the specific dates of the exam. Since you'll take this exam in one of the campus testing centers, I want to first talk with you about the requirements of the testing center. Sometimes I call this testing center mentality. You can find information describing testing center procedures in your course booklet, and testing center times and locations appear on the inside back cover of the booklet. The testing center allows only 2 days during which to test. Testing can only be accomplished on Monday and Tuesday scheduled in the course booklet, and there is no way to delay until later in the week. You may go to any of the 4 campuses for testing, but be sure to go during the scheduled testing times between 9 a.m. and 8:45 p.m. That closing time is deceptive, however, because you will not be allowed to enter the testing area after 7:30 if you're taking an exam. You must arrive at least 1 hour prior to closing time, or you will be turned away and not allowed to take the exam. If these testing times occur during your work schedule or class schedule, you will need to make special arrangements with your employer or the teachers in order to take the exam. Try to go to the testing center on Monday or early in the day to avoid crowds, and be sure to allow yourself enough time to do the work involved. When the testing center closes, you must turn in your work whether you have completed it or not. Further, the testing center will require full identification from you. This will include proof that you are registered in this course, as well as a photo ID such as a driver's license. The ideal identification would be a current photo TCC ID card. If you do not have one of these, you will need to present a printed copy of your current TCC class schedule along with a photo ID, like a driver's license. You will not be allowed to take the exam without this identification. Remember that the testing center personnel process many students during testing periods, and so your courtesy toward them is appreciated. If you think that you've been given the wrong exam form, be sure to clarify with the testing center personnel. Your test should specify English 1302 DVD. This exam will have 50 multiple choice questions that you will answer using a Scantron. The Scantron and pencil will be provided by the testing center, but you will not be allowed to use a dictionary during an objective exam. Now that we understand the testing center routine, I want to cover what will actually be on the exam and give you some sample questions so that you will have a good feel for the exam before you go in to take it. I also have a process for preparation that should be helpful. First, you need to know that the exam covers the first 5 visits with the professor from the DVD. It will also cover the interviews with authors located on the Lit 21 CD-ROM and on the short story DVDs. In addition, it will cover all information and instructions in the course booklet through the short story assignment. And finally, it will cover all assigned reading in the textbook as well as all assigned short stories. Although this may seem like a lot of material, much of it is overlapping and simply reinforces the same information from another source. Now, I have mentioned that the questions are objective, multiple choice type questions, but I want to go further in describing the types of questions. Many of the questions are analytical, which means you will be asked to apply your knowledge in one area to your knowledge in another and come to some conclusion. For example, based on your understanding about different types of characters in a story, you may be asked to select a protagonist from a list of characters in stories you have read. Other questions are simple definitions or information recall questions. Some of these questions pertain to the skills of writing or standard rules of expository writing that are described in the visits with the professor or in the course booklet. Also, some questions are based on interviews with the authors found in your Lit 21 CD-ROM or the DVD short story productions. To be sure that you do not miss some of these interviews, I want to list them here for you. You have brief video interviews on the Lit 21 CD-ROM and more complete interviews on the short story DVDs following the reenacted short stories. Please be familiar with all information in the following interviews. Tess Gallagher, wife of Raymond Carver, who wrote The Cathedral. Tillie Olsen, who wrote I Stand Here Ironing. John Updike, who wrote A&P. Eudora Welty, who wrote A Worn Path, and Alice Walker, who wrote Everyday Use. Also, to do well on any of the questions, you need to be familiar with the list of terms you see on the review list in your course booklet. These are terms that actually appear on the test as part of a question or part of an answer. You need to understand what the term means and how it applies to the stories you have read. An easy way to study these terms is to refer to the Index of Literary Terms on the inside back cover of your textbook, where many of these terms are listed, along with a page number that directs you to a definition and an example of the term. Finally, make sure that you have read all of the stories assigned, as you can expect to see questions on all of them. Now I want to give you a process to follow in preparing to take the exam, and I will include sample test questions as we go. By the way, I'm not giving out any answers here. Please don't call me and ask. Test Prep Step 1 requires that you read all assigned short stories and be familiar with authors, titles, themes, plots, characters, and events of each. A simple analytic question covering a short story might sound like this. Which of the following stories explores a theme of coping with aging? Araby, Cathedral, Fleur, or Two Kinds? An information recall question over the content of a short story might be, in A&P, which term does Sammy not use in referring to women? Bees, pigs, sheep, or puppy dogs? The second test prep step requires that you know and understand how to apply all terms listed on your terms list to the assigned stories. A sample analytic question of this type might sound like, the persona in I Stand Here Ironing is that of a neglected daughter, a judgmental social worker, a regretful mother, or a disenchanted husband. Another analytic question of this type would be, the climax in John Updike's A&P occurs when Mr. Lingle confronts the girls. Sammy says, I quit. Sammy slams his bow tie and apron on the counter, or Sammy walks out of the store. The third test prep step involves viewing all CD-ROM and DVD author interviews and becoming familiar with author comments about their stories. A question covering this material might be like the following example. In the interview with Tillie Olsen, she characterizes the process of ironing as exhausting, liberating, frustrating, or peaceful. The fourth test prep step requires that you review the material in your course booklet and the Visits with the Professor DVD that concern the writing process. A question that covers writing might sound like this example. A theme statement should not include which of the following: the name of the main character, the author's name, the title of the story, the theme of the story. Now let's review our review with some final tips. Tip number 1, follow content review instructions completely. Tip number 2, follow testing center instructions completely. Tip number 3, go to the testing center on the correct day. Tip number 4, go to the testing center at the correct time. And tip number 5, take the proper identification. Okay, you're ready. Good luck to you in this process, and please contact your writing consultant or me if you have questions about testing. Once you've finished your exam, the testing center personnel will run your Scantron through the scoring machine and tell you the number of questions you have completed correctly. You can double this number for your final grade on the exam, since each question is worth 2 points. Remember that if you know you will be out of town during the scheduled testing time, contact me in advance to make some alternate arrangement. Makeups are late in the semester and come with a 10-point penalty, so try to be present at testing time. Thanks for your attention. I will see you after the exam in visit number 6 when we begin the poetry unit. Goodbye and good luck.